So I look at the standings, and I know it's kind of silly to get too deep into the standings in the middle of June, but it's not that early.
Yeah.
And the Mets did what they needed to do against a very, very soft spot in their schedule. You get the White Sox, you get the Rockies 2 times. You got the Dodgers in LA, which they split, although they saw the Dodgers JV starting pitchers. And then you come back home and you sweep the Nationals, who've played pretty well. The Nationals, who are ahead of the Braves right now, in fact. And so I give them credit for that. And one of those was a come-from-behind win, the first game of that series. And the Mets just aren't losing. And they're getting UPS drivers and trash truck dudes to just come in off the street and throw up zeros. I don't get it. I don't know if it's like black magic, dark arts. Like, I don't know what it is, but that rotation's been really good. The bullpen has been really good. They just don't give up runs. Offensively, it's not a deep lineup, but they find ways to win. They find ways to score enough runs, and like they're not losing. And they have a 5.5 game lead on the Phillies right now, when the Phillies 2 weeks ago had a 2.5 game lead on them. Like, they've lost 8 games in the standings, the Mets, over the last 15 days, which is pretty devastating free fall. So I look at this upcoming stretch. Let's first look at what the Mets have. They're at home this weekend against the Rays, who are a decent team. Then they go to Atlanta for 3, which I think is a last stand for the Braves. The Braves this week, I don't know if Brian Snitker's there if they don't figure it out in the next 7 days. Then they come to Philly for 3, and then they're at home against the Braves for 4. So they go Rays at home, Braves on the road, Phillies on the road, Braves at home. Phillies, meanwhile, have Toronto this weekend. They're at Florida or Miami for 4, and then they have the Mets at home for 3, their next 10 games. Is it fair to say that if the Phillies are going to win this division, they need to make up some ground in the next 10 games here?
Some is the operative word there, Bob. I mean, yeah, I agree that they do need to make up some ground, but what exactly is some? Like, if they get within 3, are you good?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I think so. I mean, That's why I think you have to win. I think you have to win 2 out of 3 against Toronto, and you better find a way to win 3 out of 4 against the Marlins, because the Marlins stink. And I know that they go down there sometimes, and not so much last year, but they've gone down there in recent years. We know the whole storyline. Oh, they're good. The Marlins suck, and they fall asleep. The Phillies have done a great job at beating bad teams, and they're going to need to continue that. So to me, if you can get through the next 7 at 5-2, and then find a way to win the series against the Mets, which you need to do. Like, we've reached a point. I know we talked about this in April where we said that series wasn't that important. We all took it as like a, let's test this Phillies team's mettle. Do they have some stones? Do they have some balls? Can they go beat the Mets who knocked them out? And they get swept. Not the end of the world, but you better beat this team this time.
8-2 in the next 10, Bob.
You go 8-2 in the next 10, the city's on fire again, saying like, let's go, trade Abel. Painter had a bad start down against Pawtucket. Trade him.
Worcester.
Bye.
Yeah.
Trout.
Yeah. Bring in Mike Trout. Absolutely. No, you're right. I think this next stretch of games for both teams is important. And I'm actually going to, now you're going to force me to change one last thing. It's a good thing I make a list of things to possibly talk about for one last thing, because my one last thing was going to be, how about Pete Alonso hurting his best pitcher? I don't know if you saw that, but the ground ball to first base, he tries to flip it to Kodai Senga, throws high. Senga has to jump for it, and the way he lands blows out his hamstring, and now he's on the IL.
Has he been put on the IL? Did that move occur?
Yeah, okay. He's on, and they don't know the severity of it. So that's, we'll see what that looks like for them. But that's a big blow for the Mets. I know that they just plug and play pitchers like the Dodgers do in a lot of ways. And Jeremy Hefner deserves some credit for being a good pitching coach there, because he's making a bunch of mediocre pitchers pitch over their heads. But I think that's going to hurt the Mets a little bit. I do in this next stretch. You got to play these decent to good teams, Tampa, Atlanta, like you said, this is their last stand, and then the Phillies, and you got to do it without your best pitcher.
You don't do it in Major League Baseball the way you do it in the NFL, but you always look at the schedule, right?
Yeah.
How's the team playing? Are they coming off a win? Are they coming off a loss or a hot stretch or a cold stretch? Where were they? I look at this and I think this is a tough stretch for the Mets. And I know that you look at them with a probably a higher degree of skepticism than I do. I understand the skepticism, but at some point, look, that staff has done a great job. These guys aren't a bunch of scrubs. Like, it's a good team. They have some star power. Soto wasn't going to hit 215 forever. The whole deal. This is a tough stretch for them. The Rays are okay. I think the Mets will probably win the series this weekend. But you get a desperate Braves team that has a lot of pride, has a lot of experience, has a lot of talent still, and you get them for 7 games in a 10-day stretch, and they sandwich a Phillies team which would like to show you one and needs that series pretty desperately to stay within arm's length of the division. So you look at the schedule in the context of it, tough spot for the Mets here. And if they get through this, then I say, oh, wow, okay, they're going to win the division. Like, if they expand their lead by the end of next Sunday against the Phillies, I say this team's probably going to win the division. And I know September 2008, they blow the lead in 07, 7.5 games of 15 days left. I understand. I know mathematically speaking, you can make that ground up, but I don't know. At some point, I think you have to say that they are the likely team that wins this division. Now, how much does that matter? I don't know if it matters at all. Just get in. You see what's happened to all these NL East winners in recent years. The Braves win the East, they get bounced. The Phillies win the East, they get bounced. I mean, it doesn't matter. But I'd like to see this team win the division. I'd like to see them fight for the division. I don't want to see them 9, 10, 11 games behind the Mets in September, and you've punted on a division title and say, as long as we get in, it's all good. Like, let's compete here a little bit. So there's a fine line between not winning the division being the end of the world and like compete a little bit.